On this trip around the county, we explore the arts. We'll take you behind the scenes of the 50th anniversary of an all-time classic musical. We'll introduce you to a teacher following his big dream, and you'll discover how local kids are expressing their musical talents. Rock out! All this and more on this trip around the county.
Welcome to Around the County. I'm Quinn Schlegel.
And I'm Kylie Gilbert.
And we're your go-to news broadcast for all things happening around Hamilton County.
Today on Around the County, we'll be taking a look at the arts.
Our first story takes us to the stage as Noblesville High School shows us just what it takes to put together a show that can capture the minds and wonder of an audience.
Producer Connor Keeney takes you through the narrow catwalks and shining spotlights of NHS's Fiddler on the Roof.
Smooth today. I'll tell you what else won't be real smooth. Audio. I'll tell you what else won't be real smooth. First time the orchestra's in the pit and trying to match up, and you're trying to match up with them. Right? I'll tell you what else won't be smooth. There are set pieces on here that you haven't even seen yet. I'll tell you what else won't be smooth. Right? All week. You have to have faith.
Faith. A show like this sort of runs on it. It takes a lot to pull a show like this together, especially one as magnificent in scope as Broadway's 1964 smash hit, The Fiddler on the Roof. And just where does a show like this start? Well, it starts right here, in Noblesville High School's scene shop, where stage director Greg Richards and his crew work tireless hours to pull together the backdrop for the show.
How's building going right now? It's hectic. We try to build 50 different things at once, so it's, scheduling becomes as much of a challenge as construction a lot of times. So. Yeah, we're in the thick of it right now.
This is the house and location where the Fiddler first starts out. Doubles as interior and exterior scenes. It's been quite a challenge to build, but enjoyable none the same.
With all the action going down on stage, it's easy to forget that there's an entire team of people pulling strings behind the scenes to make sure that every change is seamless.
Beam slot of the auditorium. This is where we hang most of our lights for all of our production. This is where we plug our lights in. They're called dimmers, and then we'll have to patch them in and basically program them to a channel. And these are all of our lighting instruments. And if you look down there, you can see where basically it is at in the auditorium. It's the balcony. This is where we have all our speakers that you hear throughout the auditorium. Our fly rail system. The buttons are where we hang all of our lights, our curtains, all of our fly-in props that we fly in from above. And then up there, it's probably the highest point in the whole entire school. It's called the grid. And it's where all these ropes go up to and out that way to keep all these battens in balance. Cool, man. And that's basically your tour of the technical side of the auditorium.
The scenery isn't complete without a soundtrack, and Hartman's orchestra works alongside actors and stage directors to deliver a stunning sound to underscore the show's twists and turns.
Usually, Mr. Hartman, everyone can see Mr. Hartman, and he's the orchestra director, and during the musical, he'll be the only director that both the orchestra and the cast can see, so usually he'll try to put everyone together on the mark.
All of this is a wonderful backdrop to the driving force behind the show. The actors. With stunning performances from Sam Fields, Carly Kopp, Zach Nielsen, and more, the show comes to life.
I like it. You have to be really, it's like a strong acting lead. You have to kind of assert yourself over everybody else. So when he walks on stage, that's who you're supposed to be looking at. So I have to be poised and kind of strong and just command attention.
It's pretty stressful at the moment. It's always like that in shows I've done. It's always like towards the end is where you start thinking, oh, I want to be so good, so the directors are happy and we're happy and the audience is satisfied. So it's a lot.
Now, after weeks of preparation, it's minutes before opening night, and the electricity in the air is palpable.
I'm super pumped. I'm really excited, and hopefully everything will go smooth. So
they're working on it. They're working on it right now. They stippled a beard on him for the wedding scene, which I thought looked pretty good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Bad at all. Yeah. And then they've been working on it. They're back there trying to put it on him right now.
And now, the curtain's gone up, and there's one thing no one can deny about NHS's production of Fiddler on the Roof. The crowd loves it.
Back now with Fiddler on the Roof choreographer Chantel Morse. She's here to tell us a little bit more about NHS's recent production and a little bit about pulling the stage together. Chantel, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So Chantel, our first question for you is, 1989, you performed as Golda in Fiddler on the Roof. What was it like now being the choreographer for that?
Oh, it was a great experience. If you don't know much about Fiddler, the performance license, when you purchase it, Jerome Robbins was the original choreographer for the piece, and the International Music Theater Association controls that when you do Fiddler on the Roof, you do his choreography way back from the original version in '64, which is great because it's phenomenal. When it opened on Broadway, it set all kinds of records. And it's tough because as a choreographer, you want to kind of come and bring your own creative spiel to it. But what's nice is that when you interpret a Legends piece, like Jerome's work on Fiddler, you kind of get to bring a little bit of the best of both worlds. You're learning a little bit more about yourself. You're also learning about the history of the play, but you're also kind of toying in a little bit of history too. It's neat.
Being an actor and playing your part as Golda and then having Carly Kopp as the now actor for Golda, was it kind of a special moment to teach Carly the moves and tell her how to get into character?
Oh, it's super fun. Carly's excellent, and she brought a lot of her own flavor to it. We were even laughing that she created her own Golda walk through the whole thing, which was cute. No, it's always enjoyable as both an actor or a choreographer, director. Always coming around and seeing what people bring to a role. It's always different, and that's what makes it so unique every time you see it. Even though the storyline's the same, there's a little bit of different character that's involved just because people are different.
Your directors, Richards and Mrs. Whitstein, they also worked with you previously with NHS Singers, and before that were your directors. What was that like as far as a relationship goes, choreographer working with the directors that once directed you on the same play?
It's so sweet. It's so sweet. It moves beyond just being alumni to Noblesville into an absolute deep friendship. Whitstein and I always laugh that we start to finish each other's sentences, and I look at her, she looks at me, and we know exactly what needs to be done without even saying it. So you start to move into that sort of working position where you just complete each other. And I know she'd say the same thing.
Well, good chemistry is something you definitely need for the play, and when everyone's on the same page, that's always nice.
Yes.
Speaking of relationships, your daughter, Kyla, who's actually 8 years old, was in the play, and she played
Bilka.
Bilka, and she did a wonderful job. What was that like, getting to direct your daughter?
Oh, she's a hoot. It's a little scary when you look in the mirror and you see a smaller version of yourself. I don't know if I was ever that brave when I was that old. But yeah, she loved it. I think she's a little too comfortable being around high school kids now because they're all her buddies. She was distraught that I did not let her go to the cast party. She thought she could be up till 3 in the morning with everybody else. We're still working through that.
In 1989, what are some of the differences as far as choreography goes from then to now?
Again, because Jerome Robbins kind of has this creative control, there's not too much of a difference. The only difference is that you would see if you go to see Fiddler here or anywhere else is that there's just some small pieces where the interpretation of the manual, there's a whole choreographic manual that is huge.
Step by step.
Step by step. But again, even how you interpret it can be different. I mean, all we have to go on is the language, pivot, turn, right foot, left foot, and stick figures. Literally like stick figures. Which can be tricky. So when you're interpreting someone's writing versus a visual look at what the choreography was, there's going to be some natural differences. But the nice thing about it's kind of like walking into Target. You walk into Target, you know exactly where you are, you're comfortable. When you go to see Fiddler, people expect to see some of the similar moves. I mean, you could probably walk into any restaurant today and start going like this, but tradition, people just know. And that's what's great about Fiddler. It's just, it's history, and it goes to the heart of musical theater.
What was one of the hardest scenes to choreograph for Fiddler on the Roof?
One of the trickiest ones, not necessarily to choreograph, but to the overall essence of it is the bottle dance. The bottle dance is iconic, and it's tricky. It is for real, balancing a wine bottle on your head, and using all of that while you're doing some pretty tricky crossover footwork, etc. Interpreting the choreography for that was not that tricky. It was more or less teaching the students how to do that, as well as training them on how to balance, which is all in posture, walking around with a bottle on your head, not something you typically do. But I will commend our bottle dancers' history here. I think Whitstein's done this production 4 times. This is the first run that we've ever done, and not a single bottle was dropped.
And I was there Thursday night. The actors said that leading up to that night, the bottle dancers had never kept the bottle on their head the whole time.
We have broken many in rehearsals. We were keeping a spreadsheet of how many had died. Yeah, so I think when we got to that night, we were kind of like, oh, well, who's going to be the first to go down? And I know there were bets backstage that were, oh, you know, I think 4 out of 6 will make it. I think 5. And that's a horrible thing to do, but they shamed us each night and came through completely.
I think Mrs. Whitstein promised a steak dinner if they didn't drop a bottle the entire time.
That was the rumor. I don't know, yes. She has said the price of steak has changed since 1989.
It was nice having you. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely, thank you.
Becoming a published author is something that many writers dream about, but few actually succeed at, and Bill Kenley is one of those few. Producers Aaliyah Hunt, Peyton Ali, and Sam Fields give you insight on how this English teacher's dream became a reality.
I wanted a hard copy, you know, that was kind of a dream of mine.
Bill Kenley, English teacher and assistant cross-country coach at Noblesville High School, is making a dream a reality by becoming a published author. His book, Freshman Runner, has a lot to do with finding oneself.
The working title is Freshman Runner, and it's fiction, but there's a lot of me in it.
Kenley incorporates a lot of his own experiences into the book, and says it's very relatable to all audiences.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to write a story. I don't know why, but even 3rd, 4th grade, I remember on my own writing little stories and, you know, keeping them. And I think when you're a high school freshman, it's important to find your place in the school, you know, your identity. And some kids find it in sports, and I did. So anyway, the book is about finding your place in a school, finding your, you know, a kind of sense of yourself that you can live with.
NHS cross-country coach Kent Graham, who has known Kenley since he was a sophomore in 1986, agrees with Kenley that he's simply a storyteller by nature.
Usually it's always story times because he can run and tell stories at the same time when he's running, and it tends to make the workouts go by. When we're running 10 miles out to Morse Beach, that takes a while, and he has some stories to tell that kind of makes the guys forget about how far they're running.
I guess I've always been something of a storyteller. My students will tell you that.
Graham can also agree that Kenley is a great author with solid goals.
I think it's great because he has a background. First of all, he was a runner, obviously, in high school, and then he came along with me several years ago and was a assistant coach in cross country.
Yeah, I mean, it was an impulse, almost it was just a thing that I just needed to do for some reason, you know.
By having that experience of being a runner and coaching runners at that age and as teaching kids, he's got a good background.
I think mine will be coming out in winter or early spring.
Kenley has some big plans for when his book hits shelves in spring 2015.
I want to be rich and famous. What do you think? That's all there is, right? No, I mean, I would love it if people enjoyed it, and I would love it if a lot of people read it. I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
All in all, writing is just simply a part of the life of Bill Kenley.
You're kind of just into it, you know. It's like a lot of things. You just kind of fall into it, and it was something I fell into.
I just always remember cereal bowls with milk in them. You know what I mean? That was the defining thing.
There are many activities Central Indiana has to offer Hamilton County's young artists. One of those activities is rock. The School of Rock is a place in Carmel where kids get to go and express their musical talents in a constructive way. Producers Justin Ogle and Lindsay Sisk tell you more about this funkadelic opportunity.
Hamilton County is full of opportunities for young artists. One of those opportunities is the School of Rock in Carmel.
We teach the gamut of rock music, from everything from Beatles and Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin to Black Keys, Foo Fighters, Kiss, Vampire Weekend. It's kind of the full spectrum of rock music. So they gain confidence in doing this. They get to get on stage with their team, their band, and play this music in front of 300 people, and the people go crazy, and then the teachers just get to celebrate what they've accomplished. So it's a great thing.
School of Rock gives kids the chance to make music, perform, and most of all, have fun while doing it.
Okay? Everybody got that?
Brittany Kasprick, a student at the School of Rock, recently sat down with HGTV's Lindsay Sisk to explain who the School of Rock is designed for.
I definitely think it's for people who are musically oriented, such as myself, but I think a lot of people do it for fun, but then there's other people who take it absolutely 100% serious. Yeah. And like, I want to go into the music industry, so like, I'm so glad I'm there. It's taught me so much.
Some may want to say the name School of Rock as misleading, but in fact it is very similar to the popular movie with the same title starring Jack Black.
The Jack Black movie, and I was like, nah, it can't be. But I mean, I
really
guess I was
is.
wrong. I guess I was wrong. It really is just like it without Jack Black.
One of the big things about making music is having a great relationship with the students.
I mean, they're very instructive. They give you good criticism, and they work with you for everything that you need help on. But, like, you can go in there and just act normal and be like, hey, what's up? You know, and it's not just like, hello, mister, you know, so-and-so. But it's really laid back, and it's really cool.
Having an awesome group of students, making great music, and being loud is a key component of why the School of Rock is so successful.
I hope that the culture is one that welcomes new students, that's encouraging, that's positive, whether you are an advanced musician who's been playing for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, or you're brand new and starting out. I hope the teachers really influence other students to be able to create a culture that's welcoming to that new student that comes in and all they want to do is play the bass. All they want to do is play the drums in a band. So, you know, my hope is that they get to play the drums, play the bass, play the guitar in a band that is that's a positive environment, that's a very functional and encouraging environment and place to be.
That's all we have for you today.
I'm Kylie Gilbert.
And I'm Quinn Schlegel.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on
Around the County.